Welcome, guys. Here we have Rob once again from GetBlock, and joining us, we have a special guest today, Marty from ErgoPad. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey CW, how are you?
What's up?
Just here we are once again. Another lovely discussion on a what day is it? It's Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, is it Wednesday? Tuesday? I don't even know what day it is. Wednesday morning for myself. Tuesday afternoon for you guys. So another eventful week in crypto. We've just seen another sort of exploit go ahead, and yeah, it's just a bit sad to be honest. So it's just a bit unfortunate. It just keeps happening, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
just one after another, right? I mean, it's just it's in the news every few weeks you see something new. So it's a shame, bad for the industry, but hopefully they'll improve and we'll get past some of these things.
Yeah, most
It's
definitely.
it'd be good to see some education coming out of this on where to put your assets. I mean, a discerning investor could have probably seen this coming at times.
Yeah, I think it's one thing we need to get back into the industry as well, and it's just asking themselves the assumptions they should be sort of taking note in regards to sort of privacy, security, where they allocate their tokens, what sort of wallets they hold their coins on, whether it's hot, cold, but then also
Yeah.
the infrastructure themselves that they're interacting with. We've seen like the centralized sort of custodial, I was going to say custodial mixing, but the custodial lending platforms that have gone under. So not your keys, not your coins. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, a little bit off topic here. We sort of need to get back into a bit of exciting sort of revelation in regards to your subpool. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, we've been launching subpools with multiple projects, and we're glad to have Marty and his team on board. And we just launched a subpool about a day ago, and things have been smooth, and we've started finding blocks. So excited on our end.
Yeah, it's going really well. I think quite a few people have jumped over, so that's super exciting.
Yeah, so where'd this concept sort of come to fruition? I know you had it in the back of your mind for a little while in regards to sort of this subpooling concept, but then what sort of actually made you sort of take that first jump and start interacting with the GetBlock guys and putting all these sort of wheels in motion?
We saw, I guess, Neta was Neta the first one or was Comet?
It
I
was
think we
Comet.
saw those two teams. It was
Yeah.
Comet. We
Mhm.
saw those two teams go over, and it seemed that the mining community was quite excited about it. So we thought may as well give it a try with ErgoPad and see how it goes. So we wanted to kind of adjust it a little bit off the way the other teams had done it, and maybe we made like a hybrid pool with just 10% of the rewards going in as ErgoPad. But it's going to be fun to see how it goes.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's a nice little segue into sort of the emission schedule that you guys have sort of settled on. Do either you gentlemen want to sort of elaborate on how you sort of came to that conclusion?
Yeah, you want to take this
Sure.
one, Marty?
Yeah, I can go over that. So basically, we noticed that with the Netapool, unfortunately, some of the miners were selling a significant amount of the neta that they were mining. And I had concerns, and some of the community expressed concerns that if we did the same thing, we'd kind of achieve the same result where it would just be diluting people who are holding ErgoPad who actually want to support it. So I wanted to make it in a way where the people who use that subpool were doing it because they wanted to actually have some ErgoPad, not just because they get a little bit extra rewards and then they sell to recoup those rewards immediately as ERG. So we did, rather than doing 100% of the mining emission be an ErgoPad, we did just 10%. And then you get a 10% premium on those rewards. And I should point out that we are going to be giving an additional 2% of the overall mining reward, because the fees in a subpool are higher than a regular pool by 2%. So we are going to be adding additional ErgoPad on top of the 1.1.
Just to cover that fee expense.
That's right, because the sub pools are 3% fees and the regular pool is 1%. So we'll provide that difference, that 2% difference to people in the form of ErgoPad airdrops.
Yeah, nice. So how many ErgoPad have you put up in regards to the total emission at this stage?
At the moment, because we're just trying things out, we want to see how it goes with we don't want to see a significant price drop, or we want to check to make sure that miners are doing it because they want to hold ErgoPad. So we've started with 500K ErgoPad tokens.
Yep.
And that should last a few months, I think, at the current earning.
Yeah, so just have to
Right.
wait and see how many people actually jump on and start mining the ErgoPad. I think it's a cool little entry actually, because you don't have to exchange erg or sort of go in through a centralized exchange and then sort of go through the standard sort of route into purchasing a token on a DEX. You can actually sort of have exposure to ErgoPad or the other tokens like you mentioned earlier, Nether or Comet as well, just from mining. I think that's a really cool use case.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think that's it provides some of the value to the miners, right? You don't need to kind of take that extra step and interact with the DEX. I mean, there is swap out there, right? So I mean, there is command line interface that you can use to do a direct swap, but other than that, currently, I mean, that's really the best way. And again, it's in our contracts, they're secure. They really can't be changed. So, as they're kind of being mined against, that ErgoPad stays in there until it's completely mined. And, as Marty kind of alluded to, it's great because we can kind of, start off with a smaller emissions, let projects kind of do it as like, a testing phase, see it how it impacts their, economics within the DEX and their liquidity there. And then, there's always the opportunity to add or, change the percentage, so we can make it flexible for future phases if, the project deems that they want to.
Yeah, I think that's probably important to note as well, is the flexibility. Obviously, ErgoPad, well, a number of people in the industry, especially the Ergo ecosystem, know what ErgoPad is. It's a launch pad for Ergo, providing marketing material or like RDOs, that sort of side of things for projects. Have you had any interest in regards to any of your projects that would be sort of launching through ErgoPad to sort of go down this route and launch via a subpool? I think that could be an interesting sort of topic.
Actually, that's a good question. We haven't really gone over that with any of the teams yet. We're kind of in the beginning stage, just kind of taking a look at how things go on our current pool. When it comes time to kind of assess, the 500K are getting close to being taken out, we will probably start thinking about suggesting that to the other teams that have already launched projects through ErgoPad for sure.
Yeah, it's having that experience and getting down into the nuts and bolts of things and being able to provide that reassurance, but then also experience as well. I think that's really reassuring for the projects themselves, but then also people willing to mine the pool.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about subpools is it kind of takes some of the centralization away from mining pools. I don't know if, like with Bitcoin, isn't there something like 3 main mining pools and the rest are just tiny little insignificant? It's interesting that you guys have built these subpools, which definitely dilute the hash rate. It's kind of cool in that sense.
Yeah, it's something you can
Yeah.
elaborate on, Rob.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, I think it's an interesting story, and some of you may know this, but as we kind of developed, subpools from, its initial concept, I mean, we started by, looking at traditional mining pools, looking at the trust factor, right? And, we were at a point where, we were messing with Ergo NOMP and, some of the other Ergo Stratum tools and, trying to create our own localized pool and mine to that. And, trying to connect a buddy who's, maybe in a state away, right? And, that's kind of, what really drove the initial concept of smart pools and sub pools. And, while there is, still some work to be done on being fully decentralized, and that's things that we're currently working on. I think subpooling in itself is, a giant step in, making that, decentralized proof of work mining, right? I mean, there's, if you look at it as a whole, it isn't very centralized in a sense, right? You look at the mining software that's used, right? Most of it is not open source. The open source miners that are out there, they're not very good, right? They lack the optimizations. So it's interesting to kind of be able to be in this space right now and identify those problems, right? And then be able to kind of use some of the tools that we have, with smart contracts and some other things to you know continue that path or that journey towards being fully decentralized.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we've touched on this numerous times throughout all our live streams. Is a huge benefit for mine. It's just the transparency in regards to the subpooling, having everything on chain, being able to view the payout systems, instead of just going into a black box like in a traditional mining pool sense, and then sort of the whole trust me bro sort of model once again. I think having everything there to be able to sort of check and verify, I think that's really reassuring, and I think it's a huge step for proof of work mining as well.
No, agreed, definitely. And speaking of, Marty, didn't you have some experience prior to ErgoPad with ErgoNomp, where I know you were kind of
Yeah,
interested in the mining space? I wasn't sure if you wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit.
I can. Yeah, I mean that's actually how Life and I got started. Before ErgoPad, we were trying to build our own mining pool called Tulip Farm, and
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, and we got it up and running, but I don't know. I think we had an issue. We couldn't get the shares to correctly calculate. Somebody jumped on. We had a few, like several gigahash, and uh, for some reason, one of the people were getting all the shares, and I don't know. It just didn't work out, and it would have been a lot of work. And we were just kind of like, after doing the calculate. So here's the thing. So when we started, there was maybe 2 or 3 mining pools. And
Yeah.
by the time we figured out, by the time we got to the point where we had it up and running, but even with this share problem that still existed, there was like 15 or 20 mining pools, right? So we did the math. We're like, okay, man, even if we like spend a month or 2 trying to figure this out, we're not going to make any money. So let's just leave it to the people who know what they're doing and move on to something else. So I think we've had some great success with ErgoPad. So I think it was the right choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely.
It's Armenio went to town there at that stage, didn't he? Bringing on numerous mining pools at one stage. I think it was probably more than 12 months ago now. Yeah, that's a huge benefit, because we were sort of we're in that little bubble there where there's only not many options in regards to the mining. I think
Yeah.
Going down that road and then steering off into the ErgoPad side of things has been really successful, and I think it's really beneficial for the ecosystem also.
That was our goal. I guess I came from right before Ergo. I was getting involved in like Binance Smart Chain and all the yield farming and all that stuff. And
Yep.
then I found Ergo and I realized like this is a great opportunity, because none of this exists yet on Ergo, and a lot of people really enjoy that stuff, even though it comes with its own set of issues. Like, I mean, there's a reason that the charting website is called PooCoin, but but it also brings a lot of interest in the ecosystem, and look how successful Binance Smart Chain has become because of that, right? So there's goods and bads to it, but I think it's nice now that we've been able to provide this for the Ergo blockchain and start growing the ecosystem. I think all the bigger liquidity pools on Ergo Dex are all ErgoPad launched projects. So I think it's been great, and we hope to continue growing the ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. So let's jump in, and we'll just jump onto the browser and have a quick squiz at what's going on here with GetBlock and then your subpooling. So I'll just transition that over. So what do we got here? This is the GetBlock overall. So 369 miners, a little bit down. So still 48 ERG rewards, 380 odd gigahash. 10 terahash across the network itself. Top miner 54.71 gigahash. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that's a solo miner too.
Wow. Last 24 hours, 15 blocks. Past week, 161. So yeah, it's just ticking along nicely. I think you're 6 or 7 overall, I think, on the pool size. So
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see, right? I mean, I know we were, peaked at 1 terahash there. Things got a little bit out of control for a bit, and the network declined a little bit. We've, kind of seen some drop off on our end as well. And it's funny, we see miners kind of splitting their hash rate amongst all the different subpools lately. So it's cool to see that they can, take their rig or rigs and mine multiple coins within one pool. I think a lot of people find value in that.
yeah, most definitely. And so here we can see the ErgoPad SmartPool, 78.1 gigahash, 4,330 shares so far. Not too bad.
Actually, does each smart pool get its own blocks, or are they shared within the overall?
No, each pool is segmented. So each pool will find their own blocks, and then those block rewards are only distributed amongst that specific subpool.
Okay.
Now, in
So
the
what-
future, there will be ways where we can link subpools. Like say, ErgoPad wanted to link with NetaPool and combine that hash rate. And then the blocks would be found and then it would be shared. But there would be obviously some manipulation that would need to be done in order to kind of disperse the rewards properly.
So having said that, what does the shares per second mean then? If the pool itself, like how does that count?
That's the
or anything?
total shares per second that are being submitted towards your pool. So each share is like a potential block find, right? So that's
see.
just the amount. It's really just a reflection of hash rate. It's more of a stat that's honestly not normally shown on a lot of mining pools, but it just kind of shows the overall submission of shares.
Yeah, just the
Gotcha.
type of the pool. So it's a PPLNS. The miners, each time they submit basically a hash, they get a share, and then the pool itself, then that's how the pool determines who gets what sort of in regards to payouts by people determining on the hash rate and that sort of side of things. So on your smart pool, 104 miners are connected. Block reward 43 ERG, 320 ErgoPad, like we just kind of gone through. And total paid is 142.12 ERG to miners. So that's obviously in addition to the ErgoPad as well. It's cool being able to bring up all this data.
Yeah,
It's changing
that's correct.
quite quickly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much in real time as well. So total blocks found so far is 5 on the smart pool. I think it's pretty cool. I myself, I like watching these and then diving into the stats and things and just watching it live tick over, especially the block finds for new pools as well. I think that's pretty exciting, especially for the new pools that are coming up into and getting spun up.
Yeah, we find a lot of our miners kind of are addicted to the the refresh button or F5, right? And it's just they want to see those stats, they want to see them quickly, and while we do need to have some caching, obviously, I think we limit it to about 5 minutes, so you do get pretty much real-time data, so it is nice. It does show you the information as it comes through, and it's nice. I think that's one thing that we really wanted to deliver to our miners was the additional data, right? Because I mean, you go to some of these mining pools and a lot of them are template based, and they're based on the API that are delivered by the Stratum or the software that they're using to host.
Yeah.
And it's limited at times, right? Because you're probably using some pre-developed Stratum. Most mining pools are. That's where you got to get a little creative and you do your own customized API streams, and it allows you to provide more visibility to mining, right, which people want.
Yeah, all that fun stuff. So Marty did mention that you sort of dove into the ErgoNomp side of things. Are you currently mining? I think that's a big question.
I turned it off for the summer. Don't shoot me.
Very understandable. High cost AC cooling, then the added expense from the electricity, heat. Yeah, definitely understandable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I've
many
been
are in that
doing.
same boat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm in the same boat. I've been doing what we call night mining. So, and it's nice and cool at night. You turn your rigs on. But other than that, I mean, you leave them running in your house, and it becomes unbearable.
Yeah. I just need to get better ventilation, I think, maybe, and
Mhm.
separate it from the house air in a way, in a sense.
Yeah, there's numerous
Definitely.
ways to sort of go about it and mitigate the heat side of things. And then you just go straight down that rabbit hole, and yeah, before you know it, you've got hosted mining facility running yourself, and 500 cards or something silly.
I know a
And
few
then,
people like that.
well, now's a good time too, with the prices coming down on all the cards, and
Yeah, it's
it's not
exciting.
a bad.
A good time to be able to sort of enter in regards to the price side of things for the cards. One big sort of elephant in the room is just the ETH merge. So obviously, who knows what's going on post ETH merge in regards to profitability and mineable coins, etc., etc. So yeah, it's just I'm really excited to see how that all sort of comes to fruition. Whether they do it in the timeframes where they actually say they're going to do it, it's maybe a little over probably a month's time now. We've been hearing that for I don't know how many years now. So
Yeah, I know,
if it
right?
does
Well,
happen in a month, that's exciting. But yeah, who knows?
yeah, it gets to a point where you just have to kind of tune it out because, unless it happens, it actually happens. We're kind of sitting here waiting. But yeah, it is interesting to see the GPUs, drop in price significantly. I mean, if you look back, I remember, AMD Vega 56 was kind of like, the GPU to buy for Ergo, right? And, people were spending anywhere from $700 to $900 USD. And you look at them now and you can buy them for 150 to $200. It's just such
Yeah,
a significant
Crazy.
difference. But yeah, now's the time to buy. I mean, if you think from a foresight standpoint and you want to speculate a little bit, now's the time to kind of dive into the equipment.
The
yeah,
same thing happened in, I think, 2018. Cards that were like super inflated in price you couldn't even sell them on the black market,
Mhm.
or I guess
yeah,
secondary market, not black market. But uh I mean, I knew people who had mining rigs just stored in their closet, and then the market started going up again. They're like, well, all of a sudden I'm making $500 a month again
yeah,
from cards that I couldn't even get $10 for 6 months ago. Like, it's crazy. uh that's happening all over again.
yeah,
They're all going, but that's the other thing about mining crypto is it's one of the hardest things to calculate ROI reliably,
yeah.
because you can only calculate based on today's price, right? There's no way to predict where the price will be. So it's such a difficult business to get into and to stay in. There's no guarantees.
Yeah, most definitely. The fluctuations in price, and we know, well, being in crypto for a number of years or even weeks, months, you would know how volatile it is. So the price does
Mhm.
fluctuate quite significantly. Um, One thing I don't think that is spoken too much in regards to the mining profitability side is actually just yield farming. So people building up bags of, I guess you could call it bags, but their holdings of various different coins throughout the bear market. I think a lot of people just focus solely on the profit number, but then uh, if you're in mining for any amount of time, especially coming from through the last cycle, like in 2018, um, if you had any sort of smarts about yourself, you would start forecasting and putting money aside to pay your electricity bills, and then just like this is the time to mine. Basically, when the difficulty drops, you can just start building up all these sort of all these bags in simple terms, just to be able to profit later or hopefully profit later.
Yeah. if you're not stuck dumping in a bear market, then you're laughing.
Yeah.
It's if you have to sell what you're mining to pay to keep your rigs on, that's when you're,
Yeah,
I guess
that's
you
where
could
it
say, doing it
hurts.
wrong, you know?
Yeah. That's I think people
uh
need to start looking at it more of a business and more sort of from a professional point of view instead of like just that whole number go up sort of side of things. But yeah,
Yeah,
to each their own.
and I mean, I think I've said this numerous times on other streams. You see a lot of miners chase, what's the number one coin today? It may not be the number one coin tomorrow, right? So you just spent all this time mining. It takes a dump on you, and it's, you're screwed, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's something you need to think about as you kind of, look into proof of work in general. There are, market fluctuations, and, you could take, the way I usually do it is you kind of take worst case scenario, best case scenario, and you try to average it out, but also assume the worst, right? And
Yeah.
look at it that way and hope for the best. You know what I mean? I think if you go in positive looking on the high end, then you're gonna ultimately fail.
Yeah. And then you try and do all that sort of stuff, and then nature just throws a heat dome at you and just throws all those numbers out the window.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play, right? I mean, look at Europe with the inflation and increase of power costs, right? I think that no one expected that, and no one calculated that into their business model, and then just boom, you have something that you need to abide by. There's nothing you can really do. You need to adjust, right? So we're seeing a lot of that as well.
Yeah, most definitely. From the mining perspective, in regards to say Ergo side of things, how do you see the value add from the Ergo ecosystem to try and attract miners to ETH from ETH merge to Ergo?
I mean, me personally, I would say, and I say this a lot, look into what Ergo is all about. Don't just look at the profitability, look at some of the, the things that ErgoPad is doing and some of the other projects that are out there. I think there's a lot to explore, and there's a lot of ways to, earn additional revenue outside of just mining itself if you take that deeper dive, right? And I think that some miners don't look at that, right? So I think a way to kind of get that message out there is to, promote those tools and show, miners there are, other uses outside of just, going to your local DEX or, whatever, and just swapping it back to fiat.
Yeah, yourself, Marty. Do you want to sort of elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think what you're referring to, things like you can grab ErgoPad tokens, you can stake them, you can do the same with EGIO tokens, Padilla, and even Neta is launching a staking pool really soon here. So it's just another value add on top of what you've already gained from mining. And for those that haven't heard yet, the ErgoDex is going to be launching a yield farming platform really soon here.
Yep.
And so that's going to let you, if let's say you have ErgoPad and ERG, you can create that liquidity pair for the DEX, and then you can stake those liquidity tokens, and that'll get you an additional yield. So the upcoming IDO Ergo POS is going to be doing reserving a significant amount of tokens for the yield farm. So that's something to get excited about, I think. It's kind of what I was alluding to earlier about the Binance Smart Chain, where, once you get yield farming, then you get the stacking, where you get the yield aggregators, where it's like you get an additional token on top of the liquidity pair token you're staking, and it can get crazy, some of the ROIs.
Yeah, your revenue streams sort of double or triple at certain different liquidity pairs and things like that. Like it all kind of just starts snowballing. It's pretty cool to watch. I think like you guys have a pretty pivotal role to the Ergo ecosystem, doing something really unique. I think that's Rob touched on it. The fundamentals, I think that's huge for Ergo. Often people sort of just look at the price and profitability, and I think they've just had the just mining ETH. They've had it a little bit too cozy in that respect as well, and not sort of exploring other coins. Like they might have a very broad overview of what something does, but they don't actually know What's going on like on a deeper level in regards to sort of like people building on things, the development of the actual sort of protocol itself. I think that's huge. The fundamentals is massive.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who haven't really seen ERG yet are kind of, they see the gas fees in Ethereum, or they see some of the drawbacks in Ethereum, and they blame crypto. They're like, how would anyone adopt crypto if it's like this, you know?
Yeah,
And it's like, well, we're not doing it that way over here. Like,
yeah,
come look over here where there's no gas fees, the smart contracts are safer, you don't pay the fee if the transaction doesn't go through, you don't you know, and you don't have to give the contract permission to look at your wallet. Like, there's all kinds of advantages to what we're doing in Ergo and how the protocol level is. And in addition to that, I think that a lot of the end users don't need to know any of that stuff. One of my goals, and I hope a lot of people's goals, is eliminate the crypto side of it for the end user. They just come on and it's exactly the same as how it has been with their credit card or whatever they're used to using.
yep,
They log in, hopefully with their wallet, and not needing to remember a username password pair, which we're doing with Ergo Auth.
yep.
And there it is. It just works, and it tells them your transaction's gone through, everything's all good, and they don't have to think about it. That's kind of the end game, I think, is who cares whether it's Ergo based or what it is. We'll just make great tools and great software that users will adopt because it's useful to them.
Yeah, most definitely. I think people just sort of don't really, when they utilize a web browser, they don't worry about it's running on TCP/IP or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just works.
Yeah.
So that's all you wanted to do. So
You do have the Firefox, you know, the people who really like Firefox and the people who really like Brave, but you know, and those people will come to cryptocurrencies like Ergo. So maybe that's where we can start, as the nerds who care about the extra security and stuff like that. I think that's actually a really important part of how the web is developing with things like that, because browsers were going in a pretty dark direction for a little while with how much they surveil you and how much cookies pick up what you're doing, tell other websites what you're doing. It's so
yeah, there's
there are people who
trackings.
do care. Yeah.
And sort of when all that came to light, I think the industry itself took a sort of pretty sharp right turn in that respect as well. You have the likes of Brave and then all the plugins and bits and pieces as well. We've got a question here from Andre Hafner. Was it ever considered for the bonus coins on GetBlock, say Neta, ErgoPad, etc., to be locked in a time release contract to prevent people dumping? Like, it's one of your concerns there, Marty. So ERG would be handed out on time, but then the tokens themselves would be in like a time lock, say 30 days or so.
I mean, from our end, I think it's, you know, that's obviously a potential. I'm not sure how miners would react to that, right? I mean, you know, they want their earnings, and, you know, unfortunately they do typically look to liquidate currently. I think, you know, it's providing that, you know, knowledge and that education and the utility, which is important, but you know, from a you know, logistical and, you know, can it happen standpoint, yeah, absolutely, it is something that can definitely be done.
That's a good suggestion. I think that definitely that's a whole other level of tooling that needs to be built, but it's something to consider if there was demand for it. I think just being cognizant of the economics of how the pool's structured, being aware that if you just give miners a bunch of extra, they may just take that extra profit and dump it, is kind of our main solution, is that we're just careful about how much we're handing out and how quickly. But yeah, it's a great suggestion for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you've got the tokenomics basically around the project itself. That's sort of you're able to mine these tokens, but then the miner themselves is wanting an incentive for a service ultimately, and they want to be paid for that, like Rob was sort of alluded to there. It's an interesting sort of thing to sort of work out, I think, as a community, and then just provide that information and have an open discussion in regards to that as well.
They mentioned a higher bonus for the people who lock. kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
another sort of yield farming sort of type of scenario.
yeah, we even had thoughts at one time where, you know, we'd set a contract or a subpool with NFTs in it, and the miners would mine to it for a certain period of time until they hit a certain, you know, value, right? Whatever the NFT project kind of identified as that, what that value of that NFT is worth. And then once they kind of hit that value, that NFT is then released to their wallet. So there'd be no funds exchange. They would be mining and sent, you know, in a sense to earn that NFT. So, you know, there is, you know, methods to be able to do that, but yeah, it is interesting. It could potentially you know, help with some of the, you know, immediate dumping, right?
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
whole other world of potential for new tools, and yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
It could be immediately staked. You could take the ErgoPad and put it automatically into a staking contract. There's all kinds of
Yeah, definitely.
interesting
Yeah,
things you
that's what
could
I was
do.
just about to sort of touch on. You have your staking setups for ErgoPad itself, but then EGIO, Padilla, I think, is that coming staking side of things as well?
You can
Yeah,
stake both of those at this time, yeah.
yeah. So having being able to mine a reward and then just go straight into a staking contract and then earn the rewards from that side of things, I think that's pretty cool as well. Obviously, there's no lock-in side of things for that. Oh, there is actually, yes. So you've got your
For
time-based locks.
ErgoPad there is, but for Padilla and Ergo games, I don't think there's a at the moment there's no locking, like unstaking penalty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the words I was looking for. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that's something you should keep in mind, Rob, there. Actually, it's a really interesting point and something to sort of figure out in regards to sort of additional incentives, but then also providing sort of more services for projects looking to sort of launch via work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that there's a lot of potential, a lot of use cases that, you know, could be used with this tooling. You know, we've even thought, you know, are there ways to connect directly to, you know, some liquidity pool directly into Ergo decks, and miners are, you know, therefore providing liquidity directly to, you know, the deck. So there's a lot of different things. It's just, you know, kind of you know, brainstorming with, you know, kind of, you know, the teams that are out there. And, you know, I think there's a lot of smart people within the ecosystem, and, you know, getting very creative with what we can do here and how we can kind of you know, use some of the synergies that we have between projects and launch, you know, launch things collectively.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. We've been going sort of for about 40 minutes or so now, gents. Is there any sort of last words you want to talk about in regard to the subpooling or future endeavors, et cetera, et cetera?
From my end, no, we're just excited to, you know, have the ErgoPad launch. I think you know, it was a successful launch. Things are, you know, going smooth from the pool side, and you know, we're excited to see, you know, what it brings in the future, and we hope miners are, you know, enjoying the incentive.
Yeah, same with us. It's we really appreciate all the support that we've already received from miners on this one. So yeah, it's super cool to see. And just to reiterate, for those of you who are thinking about the 3% fee taking away from those extra rewards, we are going to cover the 2% difference between the 3% fee and the 1% of the standard pool. So just a reminder, that's coming up. That'll be airdropped weekly until we have an automatic contract in place to do that automatically.
Yeah, that's an important point as well. Is sort of automating that. I think I believe that's through another smart contract there, Rob.
That's correct. It'll be a secondary contract that will kind of handle that additional incentive.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to note. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure talking once again. It's exciting endeavor here with ErgoPad sort of launching a smart pool. I think be interesting to keep an eye on and see how miners sort of interact with their rewards. I think sort of many in the ecosystem will be watching that one. So, gents, it's been a pleasure talking once again.
Thanks,
again.
CW. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good one.
Bye.